The morning sun, a blazing orb of orange and gold, stretched its first tentative fingers across the vast expanse of the Kenyan savannah. Golden light bathed the acacia trees, stirred the tall grass, and promised another scorching day. Ranger Caprono, perched atop a dusty Land Rover, meticulously scanned the horizon through his binoculars. 34 years he'd served the Amboseli National Park, his eyes honed by decades of vigilant watch. But what he saw now, a distant, lumbering shape moving with an unnatural, heavy purpose, was an impossible aberration against the familiar rhythm of the wild. It was Zawadi, a matriarch whose wisdom was etched into the deep lines around her eyes, her immense frame a testament to resilience. She walked, not with the languid grace of a free elephant, but with a desperate, single-minded focus, directly towards the Amboseli Ranger Station. And in her powerful trunk, cradled with a tenderness that tore at Kiprono's heart, she carried a burden that defied belief. Her calf, Juma, small and utterly motionless. Behind her, a gruesome signature marked the red earth, a dark, intermittent trail of blood, smudging the ancient dust. It spoke of 15 kilometers, perhaps more, of an unimaginable journey, each step an agony, each meter a testament to a mother's fierce, unyielding will. Caprono's calloused hands, steady through countless crises, now trembled. He lowered the binoculars, the lenses blurring with unshed tears. Never in all his years had he witnessed such an act. An elephant, the very symbol of untamed wilderness, approaching human territory, not with aggression or curiosity, but with an unspoken plea for help. It was a violation of every natural law he knew. His radio crackled, the static a harsh counterpoint to the profound silence that had fallen over him. "Caprono, this is Kenyan," came the voice of his colleague patrolling the southern sector. "I've got an elephant on my scope, moving directly toward the station, carrying an injured calf. Any idea what's going on?" Caprono's disbelief flared into sharp alarm. "Lekian, confirm your visual," he demanded, his voice tight. "An elephant approaching human facilities? You're certain?" Lekian's response was immediate, laced with his own confusion. "Affirmative, Caprono. It's Zawadi. She's moving with intent. No aggression, nothing you'd expect. Just a purposeful march." It challenged every ingrained understanding of elephant behavior, a stark deviation from their wary, often hostile, relationship with humans. Zawadi, in her own world of pain and desperate hope, wasn't thinking of ancient fears. Somewhere deep within her long memory, a flicker of an image persisted. Years ago, rangers, Kiprono among them, had tended to an injured buffalo, a species typically beyond human intervention. A forbidden hope, born of that distant observation, now propelled her forward. Yet it was the nature of Juma's injury that truly curdled Kiprono's blood. The snare that had maimed the young calf was not the crudely fashioned wire loop of a desperate local poacher. This was something far more insidious, a meticulously crafted trap of industrial-grade steel cable, expertly concealed beneath a tangle of fallen branches. Its design spoke of a chilling proficiency, a deliberate cruelty that went beyond subsistence hunting. This was no simple poacher's trap. It suggested organized, systematic malice, perhaps even connected to something larger, darker, an unethical network whose reach might extend far beyond the savannah's boundaries. The snare wasn't just a trap, it was a signature. Zawadi's decision had been agonizing. To defy the ancient instincts of generations, to set aside the ingrained fear and distrust of humankind, the very species that often threatened her kind, was an unimaginable gamble. But Juma's labored breathing, the growing stillness in his small body, had left her with no other choice. In the cool, organized confines of the veterinary clinic at Amboseli Ranger Station, Dr. Amina Saeed methodically reviewed her supply inventory. Her gloved hands moved with practiced efficiency, checking expiration dates on anesthetics, ensuring sterile wraps were intact. The familiar hum of the refrigerator provided a soothing backdrop until her walkie-talkie burst to life, Caprono's voice ragged with urgency. "Amina, it's Caprono. We have a situation." "Zawadi, she's approaching the station, carrying Juma. The calf is badly injured." Amina's mind raced, already picturing the scene, running through protocols. Her expertise lay in treating sedated animals, where the unpredictable power of the wild was temporarily neutralized. But a fully conscious elephant matriarch, especially one with an injured calf, presented an entirely different, medically perilous scenario. The protective instinct of a mother elephant was absolute, formidable. She responded, her tone reflecting the gravity of the situation. David, you know I cannot safely treat an elephant calf with the mother present. It's too dangerous for everyone involved. We'd need to sedate the mother first, which carries immense risk both for her and Juma. Neither is safe. Sedating an adult elephant was a delicate, high-stakes procedure, let alone one already under extreme stress. Caprono's voice, however, held an unfamiliar, desperate conviction. If what Likian is seeing is accurate, Amina, this mother is voluntarily bringing her injured baby to us for help. She is asking us. That changes everything about normal protocol. This isn't a dart and subdue situation. Amina paused, her hand hovering over a vial of tranquilizer. He was right. If Caprono's assessment and Lakian's earlier report were accurate, she faced an unprecedented ethical and medical dilemma. To deny help would be unthinkable, a betrayal of the very trust this extraordinary creature seemed to be offering. Yet to proceed without the safety net of sedation meant risking lives. Hers, Caprono's, even Juma's, in the chaotic potential of Zawadi's fear or confusion. The stakes were impossibly high. Just then, a deep, resonant rumble vibrated through the very foundations of the station. It wasn't the aggressive, ground-shaking roar of an angry elephant. Instead, it was a series of low-frequency trumpets, a social call of peaceful intention carrying across the air. Amina's eyes widened. She knew those vocalizations. Caprono, she said, her voice dropping, a new realization dawning. She is not just approaching us randomly. Those vocalizations are social calls. She is treating us like potential allies, not threats. She's communicating. Outside, an eerie hush had fallen. All activity at the station seemed to hold its breath. Zawadi, her colossal form silhouetted against the morning sun, reached a point precisely 10 meters from the perimeter of the ranger station. There, with a profound tenderness that belied her immense power, she stopped. Slowly, carefully, she lowered Juma from her trunk, settling him gently onto the dusty ground. The calf lay still, a tiny, vulnerable mound. Then, in a gesture that stunned everyone watching into silent awe, Zawadi backed away. Exactly 3 steps. Not one more, not one less. It was a clear, unmistakable gesture, a silent presentation. Here is my child. I am asking for your help. It was an act of profound, almost unbearable trust. Caprono, watching the scene unfold from the observation deck, spoke into the radio, his voice barely a whisper. Elena, he used her first name, a rare occurrence reflecting the intimacy of the moment. What if we try to communicate with her the same way she is trying to communicate with us? Amina, already gathering her emergency kit, her hands moving on autopilot, felt a strange primal pull. She looked at the array of sterile tools, the powerful drugs designed to control the wild. But Zawadi's gesture, her low-frequency calls, spoke of a different path, a possibility from legend. She was preparing to trust an animal's desperate, heart-wrenching plea, venturing into uncharted territory where science met an almost mystical understanding. With her emergency kit clutched tight, Dr. Amina Saeed began her slow, deliberate approach to Juma. Each step was measured, her eyes never leaving Zawadi's. The air thrummed with unspoken tension. Every fiber of Amina's being acutely aware of the raw power standing just 3 paces from the injured calf. As she moved, she spoke, her voice a low, calm murmur, directed not at the inert Juma, but at the immense, watchful matriarch. I'm going to help your baby, Zawadi, she whispered, her words carrying across the still morning air. I'm a doctor, and I want to make Juma better. Please let me help her. She kept her hands open, palms facing up, a universal gesture of peace. Zawadi responded, not with a trumpet or a charge, but with the soft, deep rumble that seemed to vibrate from the very earth beneath their feet. It was an ancient sound, carrying within it acknowledgement and impossibly permission. A clear signal of understanding passed between them, a fragile bridge built on desperate hope. From a safe distance, Likian, a man steeped in the traditions of his ancestors, offered a quiet observation to Caprono. Dr. Amina, in my culture, we believe elephants can understand human intentions, not just words. She is telling you that she trusts you with her baby. It's a bond deeper than language. Amina knelt beside Juma, the red dust crunching softly under her knees. Her professional eye immediately assessed the damage. It was severe. The industrial-grade snare had bitten deep, severing muscle and tendon, scraping bone. Signs of serious infection were already evident, the flesh inflamed and weeping. This wasn't a superficial wound. It was life-threatening. Immediate surgery was critical. Yet the impossibility of sedating Juma, with Zawadi hovering, was stark. There would be no sterile operating theater, no controlled environment. This would be surgery in the wild, under the most extreme conditions. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Amina made the first incision. Juma, despite her weakened state, cried out weakly, a high-pitched whimper that pierced the air. Zawadi instantly tensed, every muscle in her colossal body coiling, her ears fanning out, a low growl rumbling deep in her chest. For a terrifying beat, Amina braced herself for the inevitable, for the protective charge that would end it all. But it didn't come. Instead of attacking, Zawadi rumbled softly again, this time directly to Juma, a soothing vibration meant for her calf. Then her eyes, ancient and intelligent, locked with Amina's, an unspoken request for reassurance, for an explanation. Amina kept speaking, her voice a steady balm, explaining each agonizing step as if Zawadi were her most attentive surgical assistant. I know it hurts, Zawadi, but I have to clean the infection or she will die. This is the only way to save Juma's life. She meticulously debrided the wound, her hands moving with precision, removing damaged tissue, irrigating, and then carefully suturing. Through it all, Zawadi maintained physical contact with Juma, her trunk draped gently over the calf's back, a silent vigil. Yet she never interfered. She simply observed, her gaze analytical, her massive frame a powerful, watchful presence. Amina could feel the matriarch's immense focus, the weight of her trust. Hours passed under the relentless Kenyan sun, the air filled with the metallic tang of blood, the faint scent of antiseptics, and the deep, rumbling communications between mother and child. It was a profound shared mission, a delicate dance between human and elephant. Amina explained the complex surgery as she worked, the delicate repair of severed tendons, the cleaning of bone, the meticulous suturing of skin. Kiprono and Lekian stood guard, awed witnesses to a miracle unfolding. Finally, with the last stitch tied, Amina carefully dressed the wound, applying thick bandages. Exhausted but exhilarated, she sat back on her heels. Zawadi immediately stepped forward, her trunk delicately exploring the new bandages on Juma's leg, her intelligent touch assessing the work. Then she raised her head and trumpeted, not aggressively, but in deep, resonant tones directly to Dr. Amina, a sound unmistakable in its meaning, gratitude, and unbelievably approval. The bond was forged, a trust deeper than any Amina had ever known. The harsh African sun rose again, bathing the Amboseli plains in a fresh wave of golden light. Inside the makeshift enclosure near the ranger station, Juma showed promising signs of recovery. Her breathing was stronger, her eyes less glazed with pain, and she'd even managed a tentative movement of her injured leg. But Zawadi, the magnificent matriarch, had spent the entire night in an unmoving vigil, her massive form a silent, immovable sentinel beside her calf. She had not eaten, not drunk, not rested. Her deep-set eyes, though filled with relief, also held a growing anxiety, a visible tension. Amina observed the subtle shifts in Zawadi's posture, the low, infrequent rumbles that spoke not just of protectiveness, but of an escalating internal conflict. Zawadi was a matriarch. Her herd, her family, was her responsibility, and she could not abandon them indefinitely. Kiprono, watching from a short distance, noticed something profound in Zawadi's behavior. This wasn't merely the fierce primal protectiveness of a mother, it was active collaboration. Zawadi would nudge Juma gently if she thought the calf was struggling, then turn her head towards Amina with an expectant look, a clear signal. She was alerting them to changes, participating in the care. A new, formidable dilemma began to crystallize. Juma needed weeks of dedicated care and recovery at the station. a sanctuary from predators and the harsh demands of the wild. But Zawadi, bound by the ancient laws of her kind, could not abandon her herd for that long. Her absence would jeopardize the entire family unit, leaving them vulnerable, disoriented. The precarious balance they had achieved now teetered on the brink. Lekian, ever the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern challenge, articulated the unspoken truth. Zawadi has not just brought Juma here for medical treatment, Dr. Amina, he stated, his voice quiet but firm. She has made a decision. She has decided to integrate human help into her family's survival strategy. This is more than a one-time rescue. His words hung in the air, a radical proposition. Then Lekian spoke the unspeakable. We must allow Zawadi to bring her entire family group to the ranger station. Create a temporary safe zone here. It is the only way. Kiprono wrestled with the monumental implications. Allow an entire elephant herd, a dozen or more massive wild animals, to take up residence at a human facility? It was a breach of every single park protocol, a staggering leap into the unknown. The logistical challenges alone were immense: water, food, waste. The security risks for both the rangers and the elephants were unprecedented. And the precedent it would set, the very thought sent a chill down his spine. It could either be a disaster or a paradigm shift, but either way, it was a terrifying gamble. But as Caprono grappled with this impossible request, another, far more sinister development was unfolding. The Rangers, dispatched to follow the original snare's trail, had made a chilling discovery. Deep within a restricted sector of the park, far beyond the typical poaching grounds where isolated wire traps might be found, they had discovered more identical, high-tech snares. These weren't crude, desperate traps. They were sophisticated, strategically placed, almost professional in their execution. Initial analysis of the snare material, conducted by the park's small, underfunded lab, revealed a unique industrial-grade alloy. This was not the metal of a local artisan or even a standard black market weapon. This was specialized, heavy-duty material, hinting at a connection to an abandoned, yet suspiciously operational mining facility that lay just on the park's remote western border. A facility that had been officially closed for years. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. This wasn't just a random act of poaching, a desperate hunter trying to feed his family. Juma had been caught in a symptom of a much larger, systemic threat. This pointed towards an environmental cover-up, or some deeply unethical corporate activity, perhaps illegal mining or resource extraction, using these brutal snares as a grotesque form of perimeter defense, or to eliminate wildlife that interfered with their clandestine operations. The elephant's extraordinary plea for help had not only saved her calf, but had inadvertently begun to unveil a chilling shadow stretching across the land. If you're finding this story as gripping as I am, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to stay tuned for the shocking conclusion. Because what we're about to uncover isn't just a threat to the elephants, it's a danger that could silence these brave rangers forever. On the third morning, a collective gasp rippled through the small group of rangers gathered at the station. Juma, still weak but fueled by an undeniable will, pushed herself up. For the first time since her arrival, she bravely stood on all four legs, her injured one bearing weight, if tentatively. It was a powerful, heart-wrenching symbol of hope and recovery, a testament to both Amina's skill and Zawadi's unwavering love. Then a low, resonant rumble echoed across the savannah, not from Zawadi, but from the distant tree line. Guided by her scent, by the invisible threads of their deep social bonds, Zawadi's entire family group emerged from the shimmering heat haze, a majestic parade of gray skin and ancient wisdom. They walked with a purposeful elegance, a silent understanding of their matriarch's unusual detour. The reunion was an explosion of raw emotion. Trumpeting calls filled the air, a cacophony of joy and relief. Trunks entwined, sensitive tips stroking, reassuring, reaffirming bonds. Every human witness, from the hardened Kiprono to the usually stoic Dr. Amina, felt tears stream down their faces, overwhelmed by the sheer primal beauty of it. Zawadi, having greeted her family, turned and approached Dr. Amina. She rumbled softly, a deep, contented purr. Then with exquisite gentleness, she extended her trunk, the sensitive tip brushing lightly against the doctor's outstretched hand. It was a profound, unforgettable gesture of gratitude, a silent covenant. Lekion, wiping his own tears, voiced what they all felt. She is saying that humans are now part of her family's story. We have become trusted allies in her world. The time had come for the final test. Amina prepared to remove Juma's bandages. As before, she explained each step to Zawadi, her voice calm and clear. I need to take off the dressings now, Zawadi, to see how well she's healed. The matriarch responded with a calm, rumbling permission, a nod to proceed. When the last strip of gauze was peeled away, Juma's leg was revealed, scarred but remarkably healed. The infection was gone, the sutures strong, the muscles rebuilding. She was strong enough for limited travel to rejoin her herd in their natural roaming. But even as this miracle unfolded, Kiprono, spurred by the chilling discovery of the high-tech snares, had quietly launched a covert investigation. The sophisticated traps, designed with industrial precision, led them back to the defunct corporate mining operation on the park's border. What they found there sent a cold dread through them. Under the guise of abandonment, the facility was not only secretly operational, but thriving. The team uncovered irrefutable evidence of illegal waste dumping, toxic runoff seeping into the precious groundwater, polluting critical watering holes for wildlife. But more disturbingly, they found clear links to a larger-scale poaching ring exposed. This wasn't just about ivory anymore. This was a sophisticated, well-funded operation, likely bankrolled by the very powerful, hidden entity behind the mining activities. The snares were not just to kill elephants for tusks. They were to clear the land, to eliminate any interference from the wild as they plundered the earth. The shocking realization hit them with the force of a physical blow. Juma was not a random victim. She was a casualty in a secret war against the wild, a war driven by corporate greed and environmental exploitation. The elephants, the very guardians of this ecosystem, were being targeted. The rangers now had the undeniable proof of a classified wildlife incident being actively covered up, a conspiracy that reached far beyond the boundaries of Amboseli, threatening not just the animals, but anyone who dared to stand in its way. As Dr. Amina carefully packed away her medical supplies, her task completed, Zawadi gently guided Juma to her side. The calf, still a little wobbly, but with newfound strength, looked up at the human who had saved her. Then, slowly, with an almost deliberate precision, Juma extended her tiny trunk, mimicking her mother's earlier gesture, and delicately touched Amina's hand. It was a second, profound blessing, a confirmation of a bond forged in pain and trust. With a final deep rumble of acknowledgement, Zawadi turned. Her family group, patiently waiting, began their slow, majestic departure, moving at a pace that accommodated Juma's healing leg. They left behind more than just tracks in the red dust. They left behind a transformed understanding, an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who had witnessed their impossible plea. Kiprono's perception of his life's work as a ranger had irrevocably changed. He was no longer merely a protector of wildlife. He was part of an extended, interspecies family, battling not just for their survival, but for their shared future. His duty now felt infinitely deeper, more personal. Dr. Amina's medical practice had evolved into something far beyond sterile procedures and pharmaceuticals. It was now akin to interspecies communication, a dialogue of empathy and intuition, demanding a courage to trust extraordinary bonds that transcended language. She had learned that healing sometimes required breaking every rule, that compassion could rewrite the laws of the wild. Lekion's traditional Maasai wisdom, often dismissed by the modern world, had been utterly validated. His deep understanding of elephant intelligence, of their capacity for complex emotions and strategic thinking, proved not just relevant, but invaluable in the crucible of modern conservation efforts. The ancient ways, he now knew, held keys to unlocking a future of coexistence. Armed with undeniable evidence, the unique alloy of the snares, the GPS coordinates of illegal dumping, the testimonies of former workers at the defunct mine, Kiprono and his team launched their counterattack. In a tense, high-stakes standoff, they confronted the corporate representatives and corrupt local officials implicated in the illegal mining and poaching ring. The veneer of legality, painstakingly constructed by powerful hidden forces, began to crack under the weight of the truth. The hidden human forces, powerful and ruthless, tried every trick to bury the discovery. Threats, bribes, political maneuvering, they unleashed a torrent of pressure. But the Rangers, now empowered by the unwavering support of the local community, who had also suffered from the illicit activities, and more profoundly, by the unprecedented trust of the elephants themselves, stood firm. This was the final confrontation with the forces threatening Amboseli, a battle for the very soul of the park. The story's impact rippled far beyond Amboseli's borders. Whispers of the miracle of Zawadi and Juma spread. Slowly, tentatively, other elephant families, observing their matriarch's newfound courage, began approaching rangers without the age-old fear, creating a new, hopeful dynamic in human-wildlife relations. A new chapter of cooperation, unimaginable just months before, was being written. Years later, Juma, a healthy, magnificent adult elephant, was seen approaching rangers with the same fearless trust her mother had embodied. She was passing on a legacy of cooperation, a vital lesson to the next generation of elephants. The story of Zawadi and Juma had become more than a mere anecdote. It was a testament to the transformative power of trust, courage, and respect, offering a beacon of hope in the unseen war for the wild. Caprono, now grayer, but with eyes that held the wisdom of both man and elephant, often looked out at the vast, shimmering savanna. He understood now that this wasn't just about saving individual animals or a single park. It was about saving a future where humans proved worthy of nature's extraordinary trust, a future where the wild could thrive and where the impossible became possible. The morning sun, which had painted the Kenyan savanna in shades of gold, had set and risen countless times since that impossible day. But for Ranger Caprono, and indeed for all who witnessed it, the image of Zawadi, the massive elephant matriarch, steadily walking toward the Amboseli Ranger Station, carrying her motionless calf, Juma, remained etched in memory. Her desperate journey, the trail of blood in the red dust, and the profound trust she placed in humanity challenged every perception of the wild. What unfolded was not just another rescue story, but a paradigm shift. Dr. Amina Saeed's courage, Lekion's ancient wisdom, and Caprono's unwavering dedication united to save a life, and in doing so unearthed a chilling conspiracy of corporate greed and environmental exploitation. The sophisticated snares, the illegal mining, the poaching ring. Juma's injury was not an accident, but a stark symptom of a silent war. Yet from this darkness emerged a new dawn, a testament to the transformative power of interspecies trust, proving that when humans act with compassion, nature responds with an intelligence and understanding beyond our wildest dreams. The future of Amboseli, and perhaps of humanity itself, now hinges on this delicate yet unbreakable bond.